Hey, and welcome to Nuclear Plant, or Plant as it's called on the console versions. This is a very important Doom level, and its role in kind of teaching the new players of Doom the basics, while also kind of expanding on what the first level hangar offered, is quite understated in my opinion. The opening to this level is very much different to what you experienced in the first level, because in this level you've got monsters immediately charging at you and you've got to deal with them. This teaches you how to sort of maneuver around, how to deal with all those enemies, while not really making it that much difficult for the player. As you can see in the PS1 version of this level, there are chain gunners, and there's a few of them dotted around this level, so we'll be taking those out as we see them. But there really aren't that many differences between this and the PC version of the level. The retexturing I think actually works here because it makes this secret a bit more obvious for the player, because new players probably won't even be looking for a secret here. What I like about this part as well is that this teases those things outside, so if you walk past the windows on Hurt Me Plenty or Ultraviolence, you will wake up some of the shotgunners outside, and new players will probably sit there wondering how do I get out there, and it kind of puts them on the secret hunt to getting the chain gun here. And I think the chain gun is a really good reward for all that, although as mentioned, if you're playing on Ultraviolence on PlayStation Doom, you can get the chain gun from the chain gunner in the first room, so yeah, it kind of devalues that secret a tiny bit, but that's not on all the console ports, luckily. But what I like about this level is that it serves as sort of more of a training ground for players to kind of understand what Doom is. The first level's very sparsely populated in terms of enemies, so it's very easy for the player to feel powerful in that level, because once you get the shotgun, everything in the level can be taken out. Whereas in this level, there's hordes of enemies who can chase you through the level if you are not careful. So for example, this area is completely non-linear. So by waking up all these zombie men as you're kind of walking around, they can follow you, they can attack you, they can make your life a lot more difficult, and this teaches the player, well, new players, that you have to kind of make sure you're not being sort of stalked through the level, because as you can see here, a lot of the enemies are just sort of chasing. I also love the lighting in this version of the game. I think I prefer the console version of this level ever so slightly, although I'm not a fan of this. So the whole shooting wall to open door mechanic is very underused in Ultimate Doom, and the fact that like it's used like I think once or twice in Ultimate Doom to any great effect is kind of disappointing. And it's a great secret, this, because it leads to the chainsaw, which immediately powers up the fist, because it means the fist is, you don't have to use the fist anymore. But I kind of feel that that's one mechanic in Ultimate Doom that really gets like left behind. That's why I like Sigil, because Sigil actually shows the potential of that being realised, mostly. But you can see here that this is a very moody area because of the lighting, because of the darkness. It's a nice combination, and it makes it very hard for the player to kind of anticipate what's coming, because there are enemies all around every corner here. So we'll grab the secret there. But you see, even around the corners where I know there's going to be enemies, sometimes we just don't bump into good enemies because they get catches like that. I like this stir fight here because this sort of shows that you won't be fighting enemies just in like straight on. Sometimes you'll be fighting them higher up and lower down. And this kind of gets exemplified once we pass into this next room. First, let's get rid of the chain gunner here. I also like this part because this is a multiple choice. If you are able to spot this, you can kind of make things a lot easier by not going down the lift here. But obviously, I think this is fun, so we're going to do this and take out all the enemies down here. This room, famously, Romero asked for this to be put in. He intentionally designed this so that Carmack had to make it so that you could shoot up and down. So it's kind of nice that that's what that room really teaches you. This ending room's a bit more basic than in the PC version of this level, but it doesn't really lose much in the way of effect, because you can't really do anything in here you couldn't do in that version. But I do like the PS1 version of Nuclear Plant. I think it's really fun, and I think it just expands on the training that players receive in this level, which is invaluable because those skills are going to be tested again and again and again in the coming levels. But now let's take a quick look at the PC version of this level. So this is the level that people will obviously be more familiar with, and most players, I assume, will make it to this level with a shotgun. So this opening area is actually quite easy, because by not using shotgunners, it means that the player has a good chance of beating these zombie men, even if they come in with a pistol. You can see there's armor at the top instead of the place where the chain gunner was. But by and large, these two versions of the level are very similar in terms of layout. It's just a few parts have been changed and altered, obviously. The texture work is obviously very different. Like, there's none of this computer stuff going on in the PS1 version of the level. But by and large, the two levels are pretty similar. Again, this is a nice secret. This is one of my favourite secrets in Doom, just because if most new players will run right past this and never even know it's here, and they won't get the chain gun until much later in this episode. So for me, getting the chain gun this early is a nice reward for those players who are adventurous. I kind of prefer the aesthetic of the PS1 version. I think it makes this level a lot moodier. I think my problem with a lot of these PC levels is that, because obviously we're like almost 30 years past this game's release, a lot of the ways that levels are designed now kind of make things a lot less bland, because there's a lot of flat walls in these Doom levels and they're not very interesting to look at. Whereas I think the coloured lighting kind of masks that. It adds a lot of atmosphere into the rooms. And yeah, the use of shadows in this is pretty great. And back in the day, it would have been really something to see, because obviously coming from Wolfenstein didn't have like these different gradiences of shadows. So this would have been really cool. But I just prefer the PS1 lighting system. But this isn't bad. And plus the flickering lights here kind of keep things a bit interesting, at least. But this maze, I'm not such a huge fan of this maze, just because I think there should be a bigger secret in here somewhere. I don't know how you'd do that. I don't know, because obviously the chain gun and then it's the rocket launcher and that's it for the Showa version of this, which is where this level appeared first. I don't know, it feels like there should be a bigger surprise in here than just the chainsaw, because the chainsaw for me is a bit of a you only use it when you need to use it weapon. But again, this is a shoot to open puzzle, which your mileage will vary on that. I don't think it needed to be that, because most players in that situation will only open that up accidentally. They won't actually know they're looking for that door. So, but here you get the chainsaw again, and we're going to be heading towards the end of the level again. But as you can see, there really isn't that much differences, except for the texture work of this level. A lot of this is pretty much the same layout, and I think that's for the better, because I think this is a very strong level for new Doom players, because I think this level really does a good job of teaching you more than just the fundamentals. It kind of gets you in the mood for like the fast-paced action that's to come in the later levels. This is the right step up, I think, for Knee Deep in the Dead. So again, we're going to drop down here. Now in the PC version, these guys will rush the elevator once they know we're here. But again, this level does a lot of things that the first level doesn't, but it does them in a good way, I think. I think this is a very strong level for players to kind of cut the teeth and really kind of get into the Doom experience on. Obviously that imp there might pose a problem for some players, because they might not even know it's there and then get their face shredded off. But yeah, I like Nuclear Plant. Very fun level. Even now, very fun, not too long. Doesn't overdo it with the enemies. It introduces the right enemies, the right weapons, and it teaches players you know, what Doom is. And that's all we really want from it, because it's the second level. Thanks very much for watching, and let me know what you think of this level.